Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to TRS Live with your hosts Brian Keller, Matt Schrotz, and Zach Hoffman, presented by The Real Shot.
I'ma do this here forever.
EQ.
Forever.
Triune.
Forever.
Yeah.
Forever. I'ma do this here forever.
Let's go.
All you haters better get comfy. This the day you've been waiting on. Y'all road is finna get bumpy. This the track I'm making my statement on. I ain't going nowhere. This the place that I'm making home. I'll do this shit forever. Hit the gas and I'm taking off. Ow. I was born with passion. My job is never ending and my hustle's everlasting. No matter what, I'm gon' ball, even with my back to the wall. And the best part is that this is the beginning. I'ma do this here forever. Forever.
So much confidence from Zach today.
Boom.
So much confidence from Zach.
Oozing. He's oozing with
Awesome.
confidence today.
Well, good day, everybody. Brian here. We got Matt.
Yeah.
We got Zach. Zach, you with us?
I am with us.
He's loud and
Zach
quick,
is
loud and
with
proud.
us. Yes.
Loud and proud.
To my right, we got Steely Dan with Get Bit Baits.
I'm excited for this one.
Yeah,
I'm
we're talking nothing but plastics today
Bass.
and bass.
Yes.
Yeah, you notice Brian.
I showed up for this one.
You showed up for this one. He's ready to roll. He's ready to roll.
Speaking of bass, I seen Winnebago opened up.
Yep.
Oh, baby.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be, well, we're only, less than a month away. We've been talking about Wisco Bass. We just were drawing it up there yesterday, the flow of the stage and the weigh-in and the cameras. And
We're going real deal.
yeah, Zach and I were in here yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Brainchilding that
scheming
thing. So.
and
This is like the
dreaming.
new war room, I think.
Yeah.
You know?
Till
This is,
Yeah.
got some good stuff coming out of
Yeah.
here.
What did Kyle put out there is 20. You got to have all for the first tournament. They got all registrations got to be in by the 28th of April.
Yep, 7 days in advance, I do believe.
Yep.
So, I
Yep.
mean, if you're
Which
not,
is nice. I like that he's doing that. It keeps the guys that are going to, how do I put
Flake
this?
out?
No, not flake
Well,
out, but
pre-fish and then not do good.
yeah.
Oh,
the
exactly.
guy-
That's
it's,
awesome.
it's a big thing with tournaments where it's like, well, I'm not going to pay if I don't have to because if I'm not on any fish, I'm not going to spend the money. Well, come on, dude.
Right.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah. Change up your tactics. Get some get bit tackle in your boat and
Well, the
start
thing
pounding
is
some
if
smallies
you're-
and largies.
The thing is if you have the right attitude tournament fishing, every day is a new day.
Right.
Doesn't matter what you did yesterday or 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago or 3 years ago. You just go fish. Right?
Fish.
I mean, that's the whole thing. That's what I love about that format. It's not with that solo guy. That thing is that it's not about me and my partner knowing anything. It's like if I just got to go fishing today.
Yep.
I can't wait to get out there and film these guys. And
One
see how this
lucky
goes.
bite. You know.
Yeah,
and-
That's all it
boom.
is. Well, you were just mentioning when you're at Gunnersville, you lost like a 3 or 4 pounder.
Yeah.
I mean, that could have changed the whole entire atmosphere for
Oh,
everything.
yeah, big time. Well, it would have been our 10th one that we needed to win.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
we only weighed 9 out of 10.
Oh.
So
Well, there you go.
we were like the only team in the top 15, I think, that only weighed 9.
Wow.
So that 5th one would, or the 10th one would have.
Huge. Yep. Oh, yeah.
Toot that horn.
You can't. No, you can't. No, I'm just saying tournaments. You
I
have to
know.
weigh a limit
I
typically.
know
You
what you're
can't-
saying.
You got to fish clean to do real well. To win, it's especially.
And
you know,
especially when our bite died, you can't afford to miss fish.
no.
So when
Right.
you miss one, you know that's just bad.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't get second opportunities typically in those situations. But
All right, well, before we get into everything with Dan, the man here, we're going to show you. Zach's got a clip queued up. Is that working?
We've got, yes, everything's working
okay.
so far.
So far, I just see some deep
expect
sighs coming from you
in
today.
about
and I'm like,
45 minutes, expect a catastrophic failure of some sort because everything went perfect this morning for the first time in 31 episodes. So we've got it.
he's just waiting. You
I
can
know.
tell. He's like,
I know.
"Ah!"
I've got that preemptive feeling.
And I always like, whenever I look at him, I'm like, his eyes are like, oh, God, oh, God, oh, God. I'm like, I don't even know what I can ask anymore before.
Yep. But no, we've got
that's funny.
well. So if
You
you
explain it.
watched the last episode, we talked a little bit about the fact that we went out and hung out with the DNR for
Yep.
about 2.5-3 hours out on the Wolf River just outside of Shiocton. We went out there deep in the marshes where you guys can't go and went and shocked some walleyes, and we ended up pulling about 200, 250 in the short time that we were on the boat.
Yep.
Both Matt and I got a chance to actually go up and net them ourselves and grab a bunch of video content. So we actually have a video that's launching today on Facebook at 3 p.m. as well as YouTube shortly after this goes out. showcasing everything that we did, talking with the DNR, and getting to know what their true goals are. Because, you hear a lot about shocking, but you don't hear a lot about it from the DNR themselves. So
Correct.
Getting to know the process, getting to know what they're out there actually doing was fantastic. But I do have
It was a blast.
And you guys had some
video
awesome weather.
here.
Compared to this crap we got today again,
Dude,
snow and sleet and whatever.
It took me an hour and a half this morning. How long did it take you to get from Green Bay?
Well, about 45 minutes.
Yeah, this weather is awful, but
Yeah.
we
Positive
expected going
thoughts.
into this deal to have some inclement weather, and it ended up gorgeous. I mean, it was probably 60, 65
Oh, going
the whole
into
time.
the shocking.
Yeah, going into the shocking,
Oh.
Monday we were expecting, cold weather, rain, possible snow or whatever. It ended up 60, 65-ish, and I mean, by the end of it, we were down to just our regular summer clothes and having some fun. So
We had our summer boots on.
Summer boots.
We had our summer boots on.
I was waiting for it.
So, funny story about that before he shows the clip is we're texting back and forth, and I said, the DNR wants you to wear rubber boots, rain gear, the best thing you
Yep.
can, and gloves. And Zach's like, well, do I need rubber boots? I said, just
I
wear,
didn't
just
know
wear
if
your
it was
summer
for the
boots.
electricity, Like,
Just
I
wear your
I don't
summer
know.
boots, buddy.
Yeah.
So, but you got some rubbers on.
Yeah,
you got
we
some
got some
knee-highs,
rubbers, and
dirt
we were,
guy, and
Put in some good work.
all right, we'll play the clip.
Probably would help for some audio. See, there's our little issue right away.
Oh, you figured it out.
We're getting there. We're getting
We're
there.
getting there.
There we go. Let's roll it.
Deafening.
Definitely a technique in order to net these walleyes. They come fast.
Sweet. So
That's
that's
pretty cool.
That video is launching today at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, and it's a pretty lengthy one. It is about 8 minutes long, but it's got a lot of really cool content that I think everyone's going to really like, especially showcasing exactly how they're doing this and handling the fish. And actually, surprisingly, we had a 0% mortality rate. I mean, we literally didn't have a single fish kill on us, so that was awesome in my opinion. So when
Absolutely.
people think it's dangerous for the fish, well, out of 250 fish-ish, we didn't lose a single one. So that was
nice.
impressive.
So, 3 o'clock today, but let's get right to it. So, Dan, you're sitting on my right-hand side here. We carry your baits. Everybody in the area loves your stuff, fishes it hard. We were talking about Sturgeon Bay and everything. I always like to open it up
Talking
with,
about get bit baits, by the way.
yeah, get bit. Did I
Wow,
say something
you
wrong?
didn't say it.
Well,
You just said his baits.
I thought we introduced him before.
It's like-
So, anyways, Dan, explain your background. I always like to catch people up on what you're all about and how you came to create these awesome products that everybody loves.
Well, I actually never started as a bass fisherman. I was a trout fisherman. Being a trout fisherman, you're trying to match the hatch, match the profile of the bait and stuff. And back in '95, I don't know if you guys remember or not. You probably were pretty young yet.
You don't even want to know.
Back in '95, depending on the month, I was all of a thought.
Well, we started going through some drought, and at that point we had a steelhead population where you could fish steelhead year round in Wisconsin, and the trout fishing was phenomenal in all the inland rivers. So, that year pretty much put a kibosh to that. So I had to start fishing some other species, and I started fishing smallmouth bass because they think just like a trout. And when I started doing it, I looked at what was out there and available, and I'm like, they're big baits, big fish, and all this stuff, and I'm like, this is bullcrap.
Right.
Fish eat natural size baits. They eat something. It's like if you go out to dinner, you see a plate full of peanuts right there. What do? You grab a before you go to dinner, right?
Right.
Yep.
I mean, it's instinct. It's a nutritious, quick snack that helps you out. Well, that's when I started developing these baits. I went with the smaller profile and the more natural profiles. I was doing a lot of crab trapping and seining and stuff like that, and I took the average size of the crayfish and started with that and kind of based everything off of that, and went from there.
Right. So you were also telling us earlier that you have a background in chemistry you're saying?
Yeah, I took chemistry at NWTC for a year before I went as a pre-planner to Stevens Point, and I took it while I was at Point as well. So I got a chemistry background, and it's actually funny. The person that I got my original formula from had a company, and I'm not going to mention the name, but he knew that I was serious about this, so he gave me the information, gave me the original formula, and then sold the company without the formula.
Oh, wow.
And I took his formula and I tweaked it because he didn't quite know exactly what it was. And that's why you got the bait you got now where you can actually catch 10, 12 fish on it. It looks awesome the more fish you catch on it. And it's like the fish can't get enough of it the more you catch on
You're
it.
absolutely right. That actually it gets a little worn, but it doesn't wear.
Right.
I don't know how to say that right.
That
but
makes sense.
It does start looking worn, but that just makes it look more realistic almost.
Well, and in the world of so many plastics, I mean, a super saturated market, your bait's made it through, and everybody's, we kind of briefly spoke about it. There's some mimicking going on, which is, but like Brian said, I mean, the fact is that your baits can last a little bit longer when you're absolutely pounding the fish is key because, face it, fishing tackle is not getting any cheaper day to day, so most guys want to pick something that's going to last and is going to still perform at that price point.
Well, our basic, when I first started doing this, I was in a club and I started fishing with the club guys, and the club guys are like, well, give me some of them because I was making my own at that point. And everybody, their guys that they had as co-anglers in their boats found out about them, and then so on and so on and so on. And next thing you know, here I got Get Bit Baits. I think that was about 2004, 2005 when I actually started the company as Get Bit Baits. Got so big I can't even handle doing it myself anymore. I have to have help.
Well, and that's not your full. People got to understand this is a side business for you, right? In a way.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how to explain it the best, but you're a full-time contractor, carpenter.
Carpenter, yeah. Well, and trying to raise a family and tournament fish, it's expensive. Baits are expensive, so I wanted to find something. That's where I came up with my motto. It says, "Get Bit Baits are formulated to be an economical, durable, and realistic plastic to mimic the prey of all fish species. So don't fall for the gimmicks. Get Bit Baits and get bit more often."
Boom.
Straight to the point, realistic, and the whole key is the profile. You look at what's out there and the colors that we match with the natural profiles, they mimic a different thing. Dark melon copper you were talking about mimics a perch. Green pumpkin copper mimics a crayfish. That right there mimics a goby.
Right.
That's my Great Lakes goby right
or
there.
Even bluegill.
Phenomenal looking.
You know something that's in common with all these baits I got here too? Sturgeon Bay has been won on each one by a different person. The Sturgeon Bay Open, the original Sturgeon Bay Open, the real one, not the fake one, the real one.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother show.
Exactly.
There's multiple Sturgeon Bay Opens.
Well, you know how it is. There's always
people want to mimic other
there's
people.
There's always dissension in the ranks, right?
Right.
People can't get along and they can't agree on a common purpose, a common goal that was originated of that tournament.
Right.
Unfortunately, it is what it is right now.
Well, and
they're
that's
still both great run tournaments. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
And on a fantastic fishery.
Well, and like we just said, in a world of so many things, I mean, it's easy to, go through and just grab whatever you want. But if people are going to recommend your product, it's just the name is going to continue to go forever and ever. I mean, you got an outstanding product, and Brian said it the first, right away before we started. He's got all his tubes are pretty much your product.
I don't fish any other tubes personally. Well, and like I was saying, I have one tied on all the time. But it's a great fish. Like he's saying, it's just a great imitator of bait fish. Doesn't matter if it's a goby or a crayfish. It's all in how you present it, right?
Right.
Steady retrieve, dragging on the bottom, bouncing on the bottom. You got all.
Exactly. Well, Rick Morris was just in third place on the one tournament, Lake Lanier, I believe, for the elites. Was using our stuff that he had from me or whatever, ran out of it, went to the local bait shop, could not find anything anywhere around that was close enough to what he needed. What happened the next day? He lost 3 key fish.
Yep.
Why? Because he didn't have the right jig heads to go with the plastic, because you didn't. That's another thing that we've done that I mean, we use the 3/0, the 2/0, and the 1/0 jig heads to accommodate for the size of the tube.
Yep.
I've been doing that since I started doing this. Why? Because you need the right tool for the right job.
Agreed.
I don't use a ball peen hammer to drive a framing nail.
Right.
It's plain and simple.
It's true. Well, and the other thing, confidence-wise too, I guarantee you, it was in his head the whole time. Because if he trusts your stuff, right? If you trust, if he trusts your stuff, right, and all of a sudden he's scrambling around, can't find it, he's got option C or D or whatever, right? Now he's just like, oh crap, here we go.
Yeah.
Well, confidence is everything. It's like in color. I've got some people that swear by this color. I got another person that swears by that color. They go against each other. One time this guy beats him on that color. The other time the guy beats him back. And they both cash in the money. They're both using the same color. What's the whole key? It's confidence. That's all fishing is.
It's all between your ears.
It's like the new gimmick. Everybody's got. They got to make these things look so realistic. The whole key is these fish are not that smart. We're making them way too smart.
Amen.
You need a profile and you need a color to match it. And if they do, they're going to eat it every time.
Yep.
Plain and simple.
I agree.
Fish are always hungry, in the words of Brian Keller.
They are. That's all they do.
Right.
They spawn and they eat.
Right.
It's a fish, right? And they got a brain about the size of your thumb. Like, I mean, right? We're not talking about a fully developed
I mean, if they
mammal
weren't getting caught and potentially eaten, that's a great life.
Now here's where now here's the one thing I completely agree with everything said, with one exception. When you're fishing super pressured fish, that's where different colors can sometimes make a big difference on a day.
That's where you can get the higher definition, different things like that do work. Yeah, I gotta agree.
Or
with
even
that.
like we talk about customs a lot, right? Like rip and wraps, these custom colors. We got a whole bunch of JTs in. I think we send emails, whatever. And it's like, well, why do I need this crazy color? Well, when you're fishing around 80 other people in De Pere, that's something they haven't seen 700 other times, right? Type of deal.
Yeah.
But as a whole, you're absolutely right. I do think that fishing pressured areas, shore spots, those types of things, having something a little unique can definitely kind of let those fish key in on that, for sure.
Sweet. So have you got a bunch of these are like some of your most popular colors and everything like that, or
yeah, basically, I've got
this one's the best.
Green pumpkin copper. See, like this one here, I actually invented this. I was the first one to have this in the market. It's a 2.5-inch tiny tube.
You want me?
It's just a single pour, single dip, real easy. And we actually make the special hooks for it. Now here's where you can really tell when you get the smaller hook in here. We got a 1/0 hook here. You can get that baby in there.
I was spitting it first.
Well, I didn't want to spit on TV.
I would have. Do you do the same thing?
Yeah.
I always spit on it. You got to lube it up to get that jig in there.
Yeah.
It's true.
You do.
True story.
Yeah, I do. It's a true story.
So basically, you got it sitting right there with the tube head.
I mean, that's so awesome. You just pop that eyelet out and you're ready to roll.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, if you go,
are those relatively new? The small ones. What is that?
The
2-inch?
Those are 2.5-inch tiny tubes. That's definitely something you should add to the store.
I should definitely do that. I've never seen that one. I haven't seen that small one like that before.
Did I bring that because of that?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Smart.
Have these been out for a while?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. That looks
Sturgeon Bay was one on it one year.
I was gonna say it looks like a crappie killer is what that looks like.
So here's
Does that
another
look like
example.
a crappie jig? Like that looks like that would just destroy crappies.
Well, that was one of my questions. Is the 2 inches the smallest you make, right?
Correct. And I make up to a 5 1/4.
But will you ever make anything for like crappies? I mean, like
did,
Brian
I'm
said, you
holding
catch.
it.
I know,
you can catch.
there's smaller ones that other companies make. If your product's so awesome, I mean, I'm a pan fisherman.
It's possible. Right now I'm trying to just stay steady with what I got and get the colors we need and keep moving on that way.
Right.
But,
I guess I probably don't catch crappies big enough to eat that thing.
Oh, dude, come on. Crappies will eat anything.
Oh,
I've caught crappies on number 7 shad wraps throwing them.
Right.
They're crappies are a predator, man. They're gonna eat.
Oh, definitely.
And they love minnows.
That is.
You just have to fish it different, right? Like if you're fishing with me and we're fishing smallies, you're bouncing it or you're dragging on bottom all the time. Crappies aren't a bottom feeder.
Oh, right.
You're going to want to suspend it.
Yep.
You're going to want to reel it in and pop it, 2, 3, 4 feet off the bottom.
Put it on a bobber. Yep. One of my pro staffers, Tyson Hansen, was down in Gunnersville with you guys, and he caught 2 3/4-inch crappie throwing a 2 3/4-inch.
Yeah. Well, how big was yours?
2 3/4 pounds, I think it was.
Yeah, that was a big. It was 2 3/4.
Yours was 2?
Yeah, it was.
You got yours on a swim bait though, eh?
I got it on a red-eye shad actually.
Oh wow.
That's what I mean. They're predators.
They'll eat it.
They're gonna eat
it. Yep.
They eat minnows. That's what they do.
Big fish, big bait.
Yeah, but I'm just saying you can't work it on bottom and for a crappie
for sure.
presentation.
Yep.
Like he said, though, a great idea. Put it on a float. Right. Now you can pop it and let it sit. And it'll do its thing.
And for right now, I mean, until bass is open for the most part, this would be you probably catch pound or quite a few walleyes on something like this too.
Oh,
right?
definitely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, walleyes just eat the heck out of it.
Right.
There's been guys that actually have done well in the Merck Nationals using those little tubes out here.
I believe it.
Yeah, it's just a different thing, depending on how you're fishing it. Some of them like flipping up along the cane beds and different stuff like that. And
yep.
It's just all the little minnows and stuff around. Like I said, it's about the profile and everything.
Well, right.
This last fall, if you looked at some of our photos that we put on Get Bit, we had that fall smallmouth trip. We hammered the walleyes. Why? Because the crayfish were on the migration, and when they're on the migration, everything's eating them.
All right.
So we were catching the northern, we were catching the walleye, we were catching the bass,
Yep.
And we got some real nice ones, but.
So what are these? Are they just salt? Is that what's on these?
That's salt on it. Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say.
I was waiting for that.
Heavily salted.
Right, yeah. I know. Well, and it's not a dumb question, but I was waiting for maybe there's a little squid juice or something different. I don't know.
Oh, there's definitely something different. It's like when you're making a cake. Do you know what temperature you got to bake your cake at? Do you know how long you're supposed to have it in there? Do you have the right pan that you're cooking it in?
Yep.
Do you mix it exactly? Do you do it 20 folds or do you do it 5 folds? It's just like cooking. If you don't do it exactly the way it's right, you're not going to get the same outcome.
Right.
And I know you guys know what I mean. You can go, do you want a Twinkie or do you want a piece of cake?
Right.
I'd say it sounded a lot like Breaking Bad over here, cooking meth.
Oh no!
Well, it's kind of like crack to a fish.
Well, if you heat like plastic now, if you heat plastic up past a certain point, it gets hard.
Oh,
and
really?
It won't come back.
I didn't know that.
It's called burnt, and it's burnt plastic.
Oh.
That's why it feels like a coffee can.
Okay.
So there's
makes
several
sense.
of them out there. You go buy a bag of their tubes, you pick them out. It feels like a coffee can. That's what happened. Ours.
So it's a lot like Breaking Bad, actually.
Yeah. Each one of ours is
Tune in next week.
specifically made each time. I mean, I can't. I was just telling him I can't make 2 batches. I got to do 1 batch at a time.
Really?
Because it don't get spun around enough. You get too much salt. You get different things like that. So it's very specific, and that's why I run out on some colors because I can only do 1 batch at a time for each color.
That's why I buy a lot of one color.
Yeah, exactly. And stock up, and then hopefully down the road because it just takes me a little bit of time to get back.
How many tubes can you make at one time?
It all depends on.
I was going to ask that, but as soon as he said it, there's a certain batch size. I'm like, he ain't telling us that.
Well, right. I mean, you could probably make more of this size than you can the 5-inch.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. You're getting like 500 of the big tubes compared to like maybe 3,000 or 4,000.
Right.
So average 2 3/4 is about 2,200 to 2,300 tubes.
So when do you sleep? I mean, between building houses and pouring get bit baits. I mean,
sleep. Well, like I said, now I've hired out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
I've hired out.
Okay.
And, I've got a signed contract. I can't take my formula and
Right.
work with me. And
Well, and the thing about that too, though, you still got to be kind of. I mean, this product is so specialized. You still got to be like over their shoulder a little bit, making sure that it's coming out just right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. And that's a big thing too. Is our standards are very high. When you get a pack of our baits, every tube in that pack of baits is the same.
Right.
You're not going to get one that's a little different or a little weirder. Sometimes our tail cuts are a little off. I know that when we're in a big hurry, but
that happens.
For the most part, you get a
Takes a split
consistent
second
product.
to pull them apart.
You can get this from this year, 2 years from now, and get that same product, and it's going to look exactly the same.
That's awesome.
And confidence. That's important to me.
Yep.
When I first started doing this, and I couldn't get that same thing, it drove me nuts. It spun me out. This ain't exactly the same, and I'm fishing the fish, and I'm catching a few, but I'm not. Is it my negativity that's making me not catch the fish and loss of confidence? As soon as I get that back in my hands, boom, I'm catching a fish. You got to kind of wonder sometimes, but.
Me personally, I think a tube is somebody should have tied on all the time. Mm-hmm. Like if you're fishing multiple rods, you're going somewhere. This is one of those every day, all the time baits.
Well, yeah, because
it's not seasonal. It's not, you know what I mean. Like the size of the tube will maybe be seasonal, right?
Yeah,
the weight of the jig could be seasonal, depending on how deep you're fishing or whatever. But a tube jig itself is it's just such a versatile bait. There's so many things you can do with it.
Well, and that's like I was going to say, it's different rigging techniques and different ways you can fish it. That's the classic way right there that most people fish is the open throat or whatever.
Yep.
But you can Carolina rig it. It's awesome Carolina rig.
Texas rig. I was going to ask some, different techniques to fish different tubes. I mean,
Texas rigged. Especially if you got a good jig bite that's starting to go away, and you start flipping that tube in there instead for largemouth. Oh, they just hammer it.
Really?
I know a couple guys that cash a lot. That's all they throw. 2 colors: black, blue, and green pumpkin copper.
Have you ever played around with the floating ones? Make them float.
Yeah, I tried it.
I've played around with that a little bit.
That's why I made my craw.
Okay.
I got that floating craw. And all our drop shot worm and our 5.5-inch worm are floating. Yep. When I first started making that, and that's funny. When I first started making my whole lineup back in 2004, I already had the 4-inch drop shot worm that was floating, and the 5.25-inch trick shake worm that everybody calls or whatever, and stuff. And that was kind of my original lineup before it even became popular with the Bassmasters and everything. But it was all about the type of plastic and what you did with it and what you put in it, because some things you want to float, some things you don't.
Yep, correct. Oh yeah, absolutely. No, but I've played around with. I've Texas rigged them. I've thrown earplugs up in here, to get them to float. You
Oh,
actually
really?
shove earplugs in there and then they float. Yeah.
I fished FLW club event, or not club, but state event out on the bay one time, and I had a guy named Jesse Kine get in the boat, and I was drop shotting a tube, and I caught a couple fish, and then I switched, and then he went back and absolutely pounded me on it. And that's something that a lot of people don't realize that really works good is drop shotting them. Yeah,
Well, that's
and
when
you
I-
can either nose hook the little ones, or you can text pose them so you don't have to get snagged up. And of course, all the smeck 'em and stuff that's on the bay in the spring. So
See, I was actually going to play around with that Tokyo rig, the little Tokyo rig. So it's like a little mini drop shot.
Yeah,
kinda.
exactly.
It's got a wire down to the weight, but then use one of these as that's because get it up off. What did you call that stuff? I always called it. I always call it moss.
Yeah,
it's just this green slime that's on the bottom of the Bay of Green Bay. I don't know exactly know what it is, but it's just this.
Wreck 'em.
Yeah, it's just this green sludge. Well, you can't drag it. I mean, dragging a tube is probably the number one way to fish it. I would assume, right? I don't know if you agree with that, but
well, it's some people drag it, some people. I mean, there's so many different ways.
But
to fish
dragging
it.
it's awesome. Like when you can
yeah,
get on the
definitely.
bay early before the schmeck.
When you can get her dragging, and you got a good,
Oh, they don't miss it when you're dragging it, right? So if you can before the schmeckum gets out on the bay,
I love that
you
word.
can just drag it,
Yep.
and it's just awesome. It's fun to fish. It's easy to fish. It's great for kids because you're always in contact with the bottom. Give them an oversized jig head and just tell them to drag it, right?
Yep, exactly.
But
when they hit it, I mean, they really
They
wow.
crush
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But once the schmeckum is on the bottom,
What time of year are we talking when this stuff starts coming in?
like right now.
Oh,
Well, like
okay.
no, once the water starts getting 55-ish,
50-ish,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
50-ish. That's
It
when she
only
starts.
lasts a couple, for a couple of weeks or whatever, and then it'll kind of blow out.
Okay.
But yeah,
But-
but if you could get that to where it's like just dragging right on top of it, that could be pretty deadly. Just saying.
So
I haven't tried it yet, but I want to.
when you're you said you can nose hook these like on a drop shot.
Mm-hmm.
You can do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want.
You can do what you
Man,
want.
you're 40. Go ahead.
We do what we want.
Yep.
Zach, you're
Smack 'em.
quiet.
Zach,
Yeah,
you got any-
I'm just listening to you
You got
guys
any, got
go
any
on.
tube
'cause,
questions for Dan?
You gotta have some questions.
I have
Zach.
so many questions,
So
but they're
ask.
just
Did you ever do this yet?
Football head. I don't usually want to put the lead in my mouth. I just spit in the hole right there.
Prop 65. Well, I mean, in order to get it in the fast way, sometimes you just got.
Well, I usually use real craw, but I didn't think I'd bring that in and get it all over everything.
Right, dude.
But
It's perfect.
It's a big family around here.
I don't know.
This is your first time rigging up a tube?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's nice. Look at that.
So that's a swim
Goby
jig then?
profile. No, it's a Goby profile. It's basically a football head and a tube jig. It protrudes the front end. I think.
Look
did
at that thing.
Did the tube have the extra plastic on it? Where did that come from? What did
Oh
that
yeah,
use?
that's my crawling tube.
Oh, I didn't.
You've never
see
seen that?
No.
Oh, my God.
You've never been to my website,
I
Brian,
don't
have
think
you?
Okay, I'll be honest. I shop at one spot. It's called the Real
TheRealShot.com.
This is the place. Hey, I can't believe.
I'm pretty sure if I shopped anywhere else, I might get ridiculed. Okay, I apologize.
We got to talk about this though. I can't believe how awesome the improvements you guys are doing here. You're really starting
dude,
to
Thank
up
you.
the fishing equipment.
Yeah, we're trying. We're putting a lot of time and energy and money into fishing.
That
is-
means a lot to us fishing guys in this community.
I
all
wanna
the Wisco
be-
Bass guys, all
Yeah,
us
see,
Federation guys, we really appreciate
I
that
am
'cause
really
it's hard to get a good spot.
Right.
for
That's
good
freaking
baits.
nuts, dude.
I'm really focusing in on bass. I think it's a major underperforming in this whole area, right?
Yep.
And like this will be kind of interesting.
Number 15 in 2013 hot bass baits invented. Daryl Black
Oh, that's
wrote the
awesome.
article
We
in
gotta get
Bass
some of those.
magazine.
I like that. That's pretty sexy.
Justin's going to be like writing an order as he's out working
No, but
construction.
this was where I got into the bass thing a couple years ago. Not that I got bored walleye fishing, but I got kind of bored walleye fishing, right? I'm just saying.
Just
it.
like Travis did.
Yeah, well, he did it. I mean, him and I grew up together. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Yeah, Travis and I grew up together. so
Travis had nothing but great things to talk about with you.
Oh,
I
well,
mean,
good.
definitely.
They're the only two guys in what county you live in?
Winnebago.
To see a zombie cow.
A
whole
zombie
nother-
cow.
It was a ghost.
They weren't even tripping balls, man. That was just.
We were like 18. We were just innocent kids going duck hunting, man.
I
It's just
know.
Don't be making it all weird. No, but anyway, so now I lost my train of thought.
Zombie
Something
calls
about
would do
how
that.
walleye fishing is boring.
Yeah, well, it got boring. I did it for 18 years. I traveled all over the country doing it. I absolutely loved it, right?
Just be honest, it ain't sexy.
No,
It
two
ain't
things.
sexy
No,
like
two
bass
things happened to me. My kid was getting it more into fishing. He liked casting more than trolling.
Yep.
And I didn't want him to be bored because when you're bored fishing, that's the worst thing that can happen,
definitely,
right?
Definitely.
So he really kind of gravitated towards the bass thing, and then I had a bunch of guys talking to me, man, you should really do this, you should really do this. So then I kind of just made my mind up, all right, let's go for it. And I did. And not that I got bored, but I get bored fishing the same places all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And with my kids, I wasn't able to travel anymore. So I was coaching football, I was coaching baseball, fishing Winnebago all the time. And it's like, some guys love that, right? I'm not knocking anything. They want to go out in the same spot. They want to catch the fish, troll the same reef. They like that. That's awesome. That's really cool for them. That's not my game. I want to fish new bodies of water all the time.
Variety,
I want to go out there and be totally frustrated why I can't figure this thing out, and then all of a sudden that day I figured it out. That's why I fish, right? Like, I don't fish to eat it. I fish for the challenge. That's why I do it. So, anyway, so when I got into the bass thing, well, then I mentioned a couple shows ago we were at that English Choice Championship down in Guntersville. The top 3 largest divisions in the country are from Wisconsin. And I was like, that's pretty badass, right? Like, that's awesome. Well, that's a whole part of this whole the reel shot kind of, not that we're getting away from walleye fishing, because obviously my dad's he's still a professional walleye fisherman. I mean, we got a whole bunch of guys here that are still walleye fishing all the time, and it's obviously a huge deal for us. But kind of getting somebody in Wisconsin to be more into the bass environment, so they're not always having to order it online and waiting a day or two, right? That was kind of my whole goal with the store was, I mean, Appleton's pretty central to the state, and if you can go somewhere and actually see all of the cool stuff you've had to order in the past.
Right.
You know, now you got that one spot. It's like, holy cow, this is awesome. And, you know, it's obviously going to take us a little bit of time to get the word out there, and it's all here. You know what I mean? But
Yep.
So, no, I appreciate it. Thanks for the kind words about that. I mean, we've obviously put a ton of energy and effort into it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we've put a lot of work into the website.
Like with me, I'm on Dirty Jake's pro staff. Well, you know how Kurt is. He's so far behind that I got to come into the store to buy it.
I know, right?
You know, you can't order it. So
right.
I'm still working because he's got such a great product. You know?
He does.
I mean,
and they're
unbelievable.
Awesome. I agree. I'm with you. No, I'm with you. This is awesome, though. This is pretty sweet.
That is cool.
I
So
like
what do you got here? What these hooks are? How would you? What are you know?
Well, I brought a couple different hooks to show different ways to whatever. You know, I mean,
that's awesome.
It is awesome.
There's so many different ways to fish a tube. You know, it's kind of funny. Back in '94, I think I wrote an article for Midwest Outdoors. I actually had an article published in Midwest Outdoors about tube fishing and how fantastic the tube is. And I didn't even start making them yet. I mean, but I could catch, like you said, crappies, pretty much everything on them or whatever. This is one of them Eagle Claw HP hooks. It's one of the other ways that you can fish these things weedless or whatever. Let me see. I'll grab one of these over here. And it's pretty cool. You know, basically you put your weight up on the top of your line here and take the hook through like this here. Run it right up the hook, and what's really nice is instead of sliding down on you when you're flipping,
look at that,
it locks right in. You take her, and
there you go, boom,
weedless.
Yeah, and you could fish that like on weed edges or whatever on a Carolina rig because it's a lighter weight hook.
Around docks.
You put a sliding sinker or peg it. You know, there's so many different ways you can do it. It's pretty cool. The other way, like I was saying before, let me see.
So hard to pick what color.
Well,
how many different colors do you offer?
Oh, I don't even know anymore.
It's that many. It's incredible.
And now that one's open, we key all.
Yeah. Well, no, let me guess. All the open product you get to take, right?
Yeah.
I've actually got so much of it already. I got to use what I got, or it's gonna get old.
Right.
No, I hear you.
Well, I just happen to know a guy who has a tackle box that does not have any good plastics in it yet. So, I mean, feel free.
Yeah. Zach fishes every single night.
He does. He does. He runs home until his wife calls him and says, you got to get home now.
Yep. Dinner's ready.
She doesn't even do that. She doesn't even tell me when dinner's ready anymore. I just get home and I go, oh, you ate 2 hours ago. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just tell her this. You could be at the club.
Exactly.
That's what I tell my wife. I could be at the club.
Just another regular hook way to do it. You know?
Yep.
Some people put those eternal weights in there too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually working on something I'm trying to develop with the weight on this and up to a half ounce. So hopefully that'll get done here pretty quick. The hard part now is there's so many people making things that getting people to make molds right now has been almost impossible.
Oh, really?
And then you got to trust them to take your idea and not
give it to everybody else.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and even that's hard though. Once you get that, and it just ends up in China, and it's part of the fishing industry.
It's part
tough.
of it, and it's flattery and to a certain degree, exactly. But it's just kind of a bummer. When I first started doing this, I didn't plan on getting this big, and then I tried keeping it quiet, and I found out that was the wrong way to do it. I should have just blew up right away before people had a chance.
Right.
Oh. Yep.
But there's
it
something to be said.
Helped a lot of people catch a lot of fish and win a lot of tournaments. In fact, I just updated my website for the first time since 2007 last year or this fall. So I think I had 39 or 40 products that weren't on the website that I had in my basement that I was selling to people.
Oh yeah. Think about our website every once in a while. I mean, how many products we got?
Oh, no kidding!
Right.
I mean, that's just nuts.
And it's frustrating for somebody shopping, but it's even more frustrating on your end because it's I know it's got to get out there, but when do I find the time to do that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. This is the one you want, Zach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just,
I way overshot him.
My gosh.
Way overshot him. At least I didn't throw it at you with
Here,
the jig in
Zach,
it.
you're so quiet. You get a free pass.
There we go.
Just throw it. And you get a pack. And you get a
We'll
pack.
put it to the test.
Like Oprah over here.
All right.
Here,
so
that's awesome.
so we got some. Yeah. So we got some. What are the fishing conditions that are going to be happening soon? I mean, the weather's going to change and all that kind of stuff. Opening weekend hits, and I'm trying to think of what's the first technique you're going to use for tube fishing early on in the season.
Just like he said, I'm gonna take one of these Tex Pose or open throat tubes and start throwing it around.
Okay.
Depending on what which way the wind's been blowing, what the water temperatures are. Spring is all water temperature.
Right.
The fish will gravitate to the warmest water. Most of the time, it's in the north or northeast corner of the body of water. We all read Bassmaster and all them, right?
Yep.
Right.
Watch MLF. So
I think one of the really cool things with a tube is you're meant to fish it heavy. It's not really a finesse. I mean, it can be a finesse, but it's meant to usually imitate a crayfish or a goby, which lives on the bottom. So you can fish a heavier jig than you can if you're, say, walleye fishing or whatever, and you could throw these things a mile.
Oh yeah.
Because they're so streamlined.
Yep.
That you get that light line 8-pound test braid or whatever, and you could cover when you're on these big flats, right? You can cover so much water because you're just making crazy long casts.
Yeah, exactly.
And for the most part, they're fairly weedless, just the way they sit right now.
Pretty much.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So fishing around rocks.
It's awesome too. That bite. It's just everybody that's ever had a tube bite knows. I mean, it's that knock. You just to get to come back to her.
Oh man,
tiptoe and pucker.
Tiptoe. Well, and that's what I like to. I do a lot of wade. I wade and fishing in some of the smaller streams around Washiro-Alpaca County, and these things are dynamite on the smallies that are in those areas.
Yeah, they can't handle them.
Oh yeah,
especially if you float it, cast it upstream and let it kind of just drag. Have you ever done that?
No, I have. Most of the time, I'm like you were saying, I'm fishing it just the way it is.
So
right
that
here.
video of Travis and I, we were fishing these in the Fox River right here, right?
Yep.
Found the most current spot we could find. Right, find the seam, throw it up the current, close the bail, and just let it just free float all the way down.
Oh, weighted like this?
Yeah.
Oh,
well, because the current's going like 3 miles an hour. It's not even close to the bottom.
When it hits a rock, it
kicks in it.
You just let your go. Let's let it go. Follow it down, and it's like, it's awesome.
Feel that,
yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, wind up, get up on that fish, and
it's awesome.
And like you said, I mean, it's great bait for kids. Kids can catch it. They can cast around. They're inexpensive, so if they snag a couple off and break them off, big deal.
It's not the end of the world.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but it's very important though when you're fishing these tubes to get the correct the hook, the jig set up as well.
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of times there's guys that are buying just standard, jigs, and the shanks are not long enough to get outside.
Or they're too long, and then they'll kill. Right. So one of two things: you want it where it comes right out of the back of the tube there, right? I don't know what you'd call that spot right there, whatever, but you want it where it comes right out of the back.
The tentacle hole.
Yeah. Well, you don't want the jig too long, or it's going to kill the action.
Yep.
Right. And too short, it's not where it's supposed to be.
Right.
So.
Now, like I've seen some guys, and I'm gonna wreck one of these tubes. Can you go through the top of this thing? I mean, that's a
something like that 2 3/4 little one you probably wouldn't want to, but
what do you mean go through it? Like nose hook it?
No, it's called. That's why they're called inserts. You can actually.
Oh, you mean feed it through?
I mean, I know it wrecks the top of it, but I'll be honest. Before I even was knowing what the heck to do, I used to fish a lot of these crappie tubes like that.
Yep. As long as the hook was long enough, there's nothing wrong
what you
with
want
it.
to do when you
other
do
than
that,
it's wrong.
You want to come in right where you want your eye hole, so you want to come in right there with it. So, see what I'm saying? So when you come down, that's why these are shaped like that.
No, I mean,
but see, now don't try this with some of the other plastic because it's going to rip to shit and it's going to be crappy. But you know what?
Right. Oh yeah, look at that. It's just sealed right around it.
Yep.
That was my thought. I mean, you can do that and you can go from the top, but then that giant hole.
Now, if you ever had
see that, look at sealed right up.
Sealed right up tight.
Now, if you ever found a weedless jig, that's how you'd rig a weedless one. They do
Correct.
make weedless tube. Do you make a weedless tube jig?
I'm working on it
You
right
should.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
They
idea.
called it, what was it, stupid tube rig or
Okay.
something like that, right?
You should.
Yeah,
though.
I'm working on it. I've got actually, I showed him one earlier. I've got one designed for the 2 3/4 inch because nobody's got nothing for the small one yet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just a matter of
Well,
me
if you
getting
need
it all
somebody
put
to
together.
prototype them,
We got an insider secret. We saw it.
I know a guy who fishes that could use a couple.
Oh, right away.
Okay.
Everybody's looking for handouts.
Hey, I'm kind of honored to have a Keller asking me for something.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Nice.
Well, you got a brown nose, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean,
I'm just trying to get a free tube jig over here.
we already know that we're not gonna let you out of the store until you write it, or Justin's gonna write an order. So I mean that's gonna.
No, that's good stuff. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
I love this one's just so radical right here.
So what I'm thinking,
You know why I started this? I made this for bed fishing because basically what this is right here, this is the original no motion type bait. You throw this out there on the bottom, it sits there. These all float, okay?
Yep.
Well, you know, on a crayfish, number one, they got the two things that are right above their head, the antennas, so they're doing that right away. So they're seeing these things float. Well, the worst part is they're going to turn around, and whenever a fish gets ready to eat something, they cock their pectoral fins. As soon as they do that, the water creates motion. That motion makes this move.
Oh.
So I would take this, I'd throw this out, and like if I was bed fishing, I'd throw that out in the bed. I'd let my line go to the bottom of the lake or whatever, and leave my bail open, and kind of back off. The fish would come back in there. I'd wait for the fish to come back in there. I'd close my bail, and I could see him pick it up. Bam.
Really?
And a lot of people, especially nowadays, these fish are so pressured.
For sure.
You know, a lot of people, you'll have 6 different guys go to one bed trying to catch that fish. Well, if I can go in there and spend 5 minutes to catch that one fish that people have spent a half an hour to catch,
Right.
I'm one step ahead of them for the tournament. So
Yep.
I can get 5 fish in that half hour versus their, you know.
That's
And that was the original concept of doing
And
that.
getting the boat away from the fish is huge.
well, it's huge.
They know you're there. I mean,
Yeah, it's
when
crystal
they're
clear
really on,
water.
you could be 4 feet away from them and they don't care.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
But they know you're there. I mean, there's this big, giant object sitting there. It's not like they don't know
Right.
you're there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you think the over-under is that the next time Zach goes fishing, he's throwing a tube?
Let's do it.
Yeah, you guys could be pounding. You guys are pike fishing right now for the most part, right?
Right.
Guarantee you he's throwing a tube tonight. Or maybe not tonight.
Well, why wouldn't
Next
you?
time he goes fishing.
Why wouldn't you? I
Once
mean,
the weather moves out of here. Yeah, well, I want to give it a shot because, this is,
I'm looking outside.
last
I wouldn't go
year,
fishing tonight.
Yeah,
last
yeah.
fall, all I threw were forms of crankbaits and swim baits.
Yep.
No plastics
Mostly
whatsoever.
lipless, right? Lipless
Yeah,
crankbaits
lipless
is your
cranks
deal.
are my deal,
Yep.
And I'm trying to, I wanted to fish fall on something I was comfortable with, something that I
Right.
could fish, and then get into winter, and have the hangover, and then come out here. And I want to try everything this year just to get it all under my belt, because I haven't done this type of fishing,
Right.
before. So for me, I'm excited to get out and try this stuff because, finding the right baits to be a little bit more successful as a new fisherman,
Yep.
but also being able to just figure out how to do it because
Right.
I want to be able to go fishing with you and be able to keep up at least a little
Good
bit.
luck.
Well, and that, so there you go. So okay, guys. So Zach's situation, he's shoreline fishing. I mean, give him some tips on how he can make this bait more successful. I mean, he's
I was just saying the great thing about a tube is you really can't fish it wrong.
right.
Right? You can not understand why the fish aren't biting at that, but you can't really. There's not a wrong way to do it with a
No, there's
crankbait,
not.
right? You might be reeling it in too fast. The
Right.
crankbait might not be tuned properly. There's a lot of variables to why a crankbait might not be working. But a tube, you really can't fish it wrong.
Yeah,
No.
it's very simple.
Oh yeah.
Well, you can throw it out there and you can crack it back or hop it real hard and
Yep.
fast. You
Yep.
can swim it like a bait fish, keep it up in that whatever strike zone. You
Yep.
can crawl it across the bottom like a crayfish or whatever else. You could actually. Some people are crazy enough they'll throw it with just a hook and float it, and they'll move it around up on top as much as they can to make it look like an emergent mayfly or whatever.
Yep.
Right.
Fish, like I said, fish aren't real smart. We are the smart people, and we make them out smarter than they are. Oh, no, don't get me wrong. They're going to kick your butt. They kick my
dude,
butt
yeah, that's
more
what
than
I'm saying.
often. Especially
for
around this
sure.
northeast Wisconsin, we got some phenomenal anglers.
Oh, yeah.
I've donated a lot of money to these guys around here.
Yep.
Same.
Yep.
So a question for you, Zach. You're mostly short fishing, right?
Yep.
So 99% of the time, I'm guessing you're standing there, you're throwing out and bringing it back.
Depends.
Right? I mean, right, but you throw it straight out in front of you for the most part, bring it back in.
Yeah,
most of the time, right?
Yep.
Here's how I would fish this. Part of the problem with shore fishing is you've usually got a lot of people around you.
Right.
At the popular spot. So you have no other option other than throw it straight out and bring it back. The problem is fish live on the shelf or on the break. They don't live out deep. They don't usually aren't up shallow. They're usually on that break. They move in shallower to feed type of thing, right?
Right.
If you throw at an angle and bring it in, your bait is now in that strike zone
Longer.
like 80% longer than when you throw this way and bring it straight in.
So and that they also they also can call that like fan casting, right?
Yep.
You're hitting all different.
Right.
Well, right, but what I'm saying is try to angle it and try to get a little bit longer.
That
rod
way
if
it's
you're
fishing along that
shore,
break
so you can
a
bring
lot
it up
longer.
on that break as long as possible.
And that's why, like, for me, is a lot of what I'm used to is the 7-foot rods and whatnot, because of the fact that I can get out a little bit longer and stay. When I'm right where the water is touching the shore, if I'm not wearing boots, is I can just sit there and bring it along. Because, like, for me, I'm an animal guy and I understand the way animals think. So I'm not just the guy that went out there and picked up baits and says, let's go throw this and see what happens.
That's what
I look at the I will literally map it out at least on Google Maps, because if it's a daytime satellite shot, you can actually see through the water to see where the deep pockets are.
Absolutely.
And so what I've been able to do is I'm like, okay, well, I just a quick Google search can tell a average Joe that this fish acts like this in this water. And then you go, okay, well, this is what I'm going for. This is the body of water that you have.
You
to
do
work
realize
with.
you're smarter than the rest of us, though, right? I'm just saying. We've talked about that before. I'm just,
Yep.
And but for me though is then learning all the technique to go along with that, because if I can tell, maybe like I brought my buddy up here, he outfished me when he came up from Sheboygan because he knows fishing, I know the fish. We have to put that together so that I can do both, because I can say that, in this spot of water, this is where we should be casting in here, but I'm probably sitting over there using my bait probably wrong.
But that's where this tube is absolutely awesome from a shore standpoint,
Right.
because you can throw it up current if you're fishing in a river.
Yep.
You can throw it
Which
up
is mostly
current.
what we do.
Don't throw it way out in the middle. Throw it up into that, wherever the break is. And then the current will keep it. I mean, you got to keep the line tight as it's coming towards you, but it'll keep it in that strike zone all the way down past you.
Right.
So for rod reel combinations,
I probably just killed a lot of fish by telling you that.
so rod reel
Free the fighter.
rod. Let me try it a third time here. Rod reel combinations for basic tube fishing. I see you brought a rod over there.
Yep.
I mean, what's the standard rod most guys are gonna? You mentioned you had what, a 7?
I throw it on a
7.3.
7.8 personally, but I like that. I mean, 7.3 is by far the most
That's
popular.
the most popular.
For sure.
Yeah, 7.8's a good size line.
I like it because up on the bay I can just let her fly.
And
it's got a real whippy tip to it, and I.
Yep.
So is that like what action?
You got a
is that
mag
then?
taper then, extra fast blank. Yeah.
Yep.
So basically, you got most of the rod's backbone until you get to the upper part that's sensitive and it's got some, some slack to
Well,
it.
and I'm fishing lighter line. It's all open water, so I'm not worried about getting the fish out of cover or anything like that. So it's real big, long rod. I can really fight the fish nice on it.
Yeah, I actually helped Rick Morris design this rod quite a few years ago. It's a pretty nice one, and this is that new PC Fun carbon reel. It's really nice. I started working with Jason Brennick and PC Fun, and I tell you, for the prices, you can't beat the reels.
Yeah, you liking them?
They're really nice.
So
they held up to Steely's. I mean, I'll be quite honest with you. Smallmouth are probably the second best fighting fish in Wisconsin. A steelhead is by far better.
Oh yeah.
I got about a 7-pounder earlier 2 weeks ago or whatever. It came out of the water 5 times. It squealed the drag. It put a good test to my stuff, and I love it. That's why smallmouth are kind of the bluegill way,
Yep.
Right.
Very close to it.
I've always said if a smallmouth got 20, 30 pounds, you'd never get them in a boat.
Yeah.
I don't know what you do.
That's like a bluegill too.
Oh yeah. If a bluegill got 20 pounds, you'd have it'd be awesome.
You don't throw your tubes for a steelhead, do you? I mean, that's just a. Okay, have you done that before?
Never. Why would the tube guy throw tubes for a steelhead, dude? Come on. That would be crazy.
To be quite honestly, the first tube I ever threw was for steelhead and trout. It was called a lipstick jig. Way back. I think that was in the early 80s.
Yep.
I'm getting to be close to a thought at that point.
Yeah, I was just reminiscing when I was steelhead fishing this year. This is my 41st year of catching steelhead. I still remember.
Wow, that's awesome.
The first year I went with my grandpa, because it was the only year I got to steelhead fish when he passed away that year. And we were trout fishing before that, but it really got the love of fishing to me. And I started chasing steelies every year. And back then we had such great fishing. You know, the DNR was putting in millions of fish. The rivers like the Oconto, Peshtigo, Menominee were huge steelhead rivers. Now, most of it's south of here.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, because of the population and all the other little criteria that the DNR, they don't care about the resource and the biology. They care about the population's, opinion.
Oh.
You know, instead of doing the right thing, they're doing the wrong thing, if you ask me. But yeah, I mean, that really started my passion, the steelhead fishing. I've been doing it for 41 years. I was sitting there. I've caught at least 1 or 2 every year of my life for the past 41 years. It's pretty blessed. You know,
that's a lot of fish.
That is awesome.
It's a lot.
I've never done the steelhead in the river thing. I've caught them out offshore trolling.
Okay.
You know, on the big boat type of deal. Because I actually grew up on a charter boat with my dad, so we did a lot of that offshore steelhead stuff. I've never done the tributary type steelhead.
I actually hold one as a world record right now in the Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame. I have 3 world records with my fly rod.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
a
really cool.
walleye, a smallmouth, and a trout. I actually had as many as 15 at one time.
World records?
Mm-hmm.
Holy man.
National Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame.
Wow.
That's really cool. I did not know that.
Yeah, well, I actually made a video back in 92 or 93, a steelhead video that was really popular, and I was doing seminars and stuff like that, doing the whole sports show thing, because that's all we had back then. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have this kind of stuff and all that. You know, I'll be quite honest with you, all the people that I learned fishing from, I had to hide in the bushes to learn from. I'd go down to the river when my grandpa's trout fishing, and he'd hide his secrets. So I had to sit there and get him for breakfast. I'd watch him, and sometimes I think he knew, and he'd talk out loud and do some things. But that's the way the generation before me was. They were very secretive. They didn't want nobody knowing about their stuff. They didn't want to tell them what they're catching them on.
Right.
You know, compared to now you can go on the internet and everybody learns the technique.
Well, now all the tournaments are televised. There's no hiding anything. So you've got. Well, it's great for a guy like you, the bait maker. Because now if you've got a guy, it's constant new stuff all the time, right? There's always constant new, because everyone's trying to one-up everybody else, which I think is awesome.
Right.
It's really cool.
It just builds competition.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, competition's good too, definitely.
Absolutely. Very cool.
Well, man, there's a lot of tube information in here today. Now, tubes, you don't only just make tubes, right? You said you had a couple different other.
Yeah, I've got some worms. I got some hogs, stuff like that. My new craws are pretty awesome. I got the hyper craw. I'm trying to get that hypertail mold back fixed for my grub. I know you've used the hypertail. It's pretty phenomenal grub.
It is. Put that on the back of my swim jigs. The white ones, it's pretty much all I used to.
It's funny you say that, because I think when people are looking for not only like these main popular colors, but I think white is one of those tube colors that you must have to have, because we're always looking for white tubes around this place.
Oh, white silver is fantastic.
Yeah,
you can ice fish it for lake trout. I mean, the guys down in Milwaukee are just hammering the. Oh, sorry guys. They're just hammering the trout down there on them right now on the piers, and that's the cool thing. You can go right off the shore like you and cast that white tube, and you can catch a brown trout. You can catch a muskie. You catch anything. I mean, tubes. Basically, everything eats a tube.
Well, the cool thing with a tube, like you could fish it like a fluke, right? You could weightless Texas rig it, cast it around docks, twitch it, fish it like a fluke. But then you can put a jig in it. I mean, it's a really, really versatile piece of plastic. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like a Cinco worm where it's pretty much got one purpose.
And like you said, you can bomb it out there. So if you're pier fishing or you're shore fishing, you're getting a further cast than the bobber fishermen. So you're getting that fish that aren't seeing that presentation.
Correct.
Right.
You know, I got a lot of guys on my pro staff that are shore fishermen that are absolutely incredible fishermen and pound the heck out of them with the baits, you know. With a lot of baits. They throw crankbaits and everything too. There's always a certain time for the right tool, you know.
Right.
That's what fishing is. That's why I don't do as good in tournaments. I have a hard time putting a tube down.
I can't imagine why.
I go in the basement and grab them, you know.
Right.
It's like,
it'd be like me shopping somewhere else.
why pay $27 for a jerk bait when I can
You can make it happen.
Right.
Yeah. Although I don't know if you've used them or not, but I really fell in love with the dual realist spin baits.
I've never heard of one.
Well, I've been fishing them for a couple of years. I've known
just
Dave,
kidding.
and
Yeah, they're awesome.
he hooked me up. Oh, I know, but I've been doing it before the craze came around. And
right.
It's fantastic, and you know the funny thing is it's basically a countdown Rapala.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it
With
is.
less action.
Yeah, with less action, you're more
Isn't
subtle.
it just monotonous fishing, that thing?
It's painful. It's fun because you're catching them. Anything's fun, right? But it's a different way to fish.
Here's the whole key. You wait till you go to a tournament, and you know the best hump that's got the most fish on it, and you find out what the top of that hump is. Like Big Green, when I took second last year in the TBF tournament, 8 foot was the top of the hump. So what did I do? I waited for all the people to come in. I waited for the guy who went on top of the hump, And I went right out alongside him at 8 feet and cranked in 3 big 4-pounders right away. Because those fish move out. They can't. See, that's the thing some people don't understand about bass is they cannot go from 0 to 10 feet. They've got a bladder that they have to fill up. So they slowly can rise up or they can slow. Now, they can go up and attack and come back down.
Right.
But they can't just go up there and start swimming around up on top of the surface when they're down in 15, 12 feet of water. You know what I mean? So if they're on top of that hump in 8 and 10 feet of water, they're going to go out and they're going to suspend in that 20 feet of water just out from the side of them. That's what the spy bait's made for, is for catching those spooky fish that are off to the side like that.
It's different. And when I first started fishing, I was kind of like, am I doing this right? Because it just didn't look like there was no action, right? Little props are going, the thing kind of just shimmies. But man,
even sometimes
they
the
crush
take is sometimes the take's really subtle too. You'll be reeling in and they'll be swimming right alongside it and just eat it and keep swimming with it.
Yeah, really? We'll be doing that this year for sure.
Okay.
It's fun. It's a good time.
It's awesome, definitely.
So I just noticed this one here. This one here is not rigged properly, right? I mean, do you think you'll get a lot of short striking fish by that? But I'm just talking about the hook distance through this.
That was my example I was showing. This is a 1-aught hook on a 3.5 inch.
Okay. I thought we were this is the one.
But that's where you would get the short strikes.
This is
gonna.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
You know, at the same time, if you're looking to get snagged less and the fish are really eating it, you could go to the smaller hook like this because you're not going to get snagged on it because the gap's not as big.
Okay.
You know, the longer the hook you go, the bigger the gap is, so the easier you can get snagged up too. It all
Right.
depends, but yeah, I mean that's where that hook size is so important. You know, when you're using a 3.5 inch, you got to use the 3-aught. Where's my 3-aught hook here? And I'll show you what I mean. Right here. Dead silence.
Yeah. Everybody's just
watching the master at work.
Watching him work.
I don't know about master unless it's for disaster, but pretty fortunate. You know, that's the one thing I keep being thankful for is I had the opportunity and the knowledge to do some of this stuff.
Right.
You know? And when I get pictures and people call me, they come up to me, even they're competing against me in Sturgeon Bay, and they're like, I just won it on your baits, dude. Just give me a hug. And it's like, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. There's just a certain experience that you can't beat. And I mean, that's what I'm always happy for the guys that beat me. I don't care. I mean, I might be disappointed in my own self, but it's nobody's fault but my own.
Right.
So,
yeah, because you're just competing against the fish. It's not a.
Yeah.
That's a cool. You saw it at the Classic when we were down there.
Yep.
It wasn't me against you because they're all pretty much buddies because you're not fishing. I mean, you know, there's an ethic on the water. I'm not going to get in your way. You don't get in my way. But at the end of the day, I just had to beat the fish.
Yep.
Yeah,
you
want to see the best for them. You don't want to see nothing bad happen to nobody, and that's what's so cool about the tournament anglers.
I agree. For the most part.
Yeah,
there's always some.
Oh, anything you get anywhere.
Absolutely.
Man, what color is this one here? Is this that?
That's brown purple.
Man, that one looks cool too. Looks just like you said, the kind of bluegill almost.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I first started doing this, I started incorporating a lot more fleck and different colors like that, and that's what it's about. It's that shimmer, that little bit of color that's to it. You know, the sun hits it just right, the fish look at it, and it mimics what they're eating, and it's boom. You know, that's why, like with leech, this color right here, that I'm one of the only ones on the market that came up with it. A taxidermist friend of mine told me about this color called Payne's Gray. And, you know, it's out anyway, so I don't care. I'll give the information out. Yeah, Payne's Gray is in every fish mount. It don't matter if it's a muskie, a carp, or whatever. It's a color that he puts in every fish mount.
Really?
And he told me about it, so I took it, and it basically looks like the underside of a leech. So I made it, and I said, hey,
it totally
leech.
looks like the underside of a leech.
Wow.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm going to hold that one right here. That's.
Do you make that color in the small to 2-inch?
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna go fish that color in that small one. We're gonna do video.
Do you need my address or?
It's gonna work. I already know exactly what we're gonna do with it. I already got a spot.
You're saying with these tentacles on it as
well? No, just a little 2-inch one.
Oh, okay.
The color.
Yeah. We're gonna take the color in that 2-inch, and we're gonna go do a video this spring, and we're gonna.
Well, what's really cool too, and I'm sure you've
seen it before.
Dude, it's
spring right now. When are we gonna go?
You get them little bullhead schools and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And, you know. That's probably what you're talking about. You know, and it's all about, like I said, it's all about matching the hatch.
Zach, explain this to me. For an informational show,
yes.
I love when these guys get on something and they're all of a sudden like, well, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, we gotta save it for the
tournament
video.
fishermen.
I know.
I gotta save it for the video. We're gonna do it.
I know.
I gotta save it. I just had an idea.
That's right. You know, the one thing that I love about being I don't consider myself a fisherman because I'm totally different than the guys that I fish with or the people that I watch fishing, right? But I had a discussion that I can relate to this and the way that fishermen talk and the way that they do, because my friend goes, yeah, a guy I know, he was out for 2 hours and he told me he caught 170 walleye. And I go, okay, now there's math involved here, all right? You got to take one fish was one fish in a bad day. You got 2 fish, it's actually 3 fish and 5 or 6 missed bites. If you got 10 fish, now you're looking at about 26 minus, 1 plus maybe 33 missed bites, but they know they're there.
He's learning.
Yeah, and I'm learning really well. So
Yeah.
that I said, take it for what you will.
You
but
can guarantee he had a really good fishing day and he lost count of how many fish.
Right.
Right.
Basically.
But 100,
absolutely.
yeah.
I like the other day he puts on there something he's got done fishing sunset pic or something.
Yeah.
I caught nothing, and I'm like, yeah, sunset picture.
Here it is.
I got a few of those.
Who is that? That's Justin that said that, right?
I got that from Justin.
Yeah, bad fishermen
Sunset
have
picture.
beautiful sunset
And
pictures.
it's funny though too, because it's weird. It was maybe there's something there that the most beautiful sunsets happen on the days that you don't catch any fish.
Could
there
be.
you
Kinda
go,
weird.
There
Could
you go.
be.
The weather was just too perfect. So.
Awesome.
Right.
Well,
Well,
cool.
well, we're
Steely.
definitely gonna get on the water this year, and we'll do a bunch of filming with this stuff for sure.
Yep.
Once my boat's done.
Yeah.
So,
How long?
well,
like
let me
next
know.
week.
I'll have to make sure I got the date open to get out with you.
yeah.
Let's do that.
I'll come out
Go
and
to-
do some fishing with you.
We'll
Let's
go
do
to
that.
Green Bay and just pound on them for a
Let's
while.
do that.
Well, cool, man. Hey, I know the
We
elements.
could go. You seen that video that me and Troy put on, didn't you?
Mm-mm.
When Troy was working with you,
Okay.
Troy Peterson. Yeah, I took him out on the Fox.
Okay.
and
Well, you just
We
did
have
one, what, last year with Larry Smith, too,
hammered-
right?
Yeah, we went out with Larry. Was it last year or the year before?
Well,
already, maybe?
we'll have to get that lined up.
He's a great guy, I tell you. He's a lot of fun.
You'll have to talk to our
Those
social
ladies from
coordinator.
the Badger Sportsman were really cool too.
Yep.
Beth Lipper and I can't remember the other one's name, but did you see the fish she caught? It was right after you guys got done fishing English Choice, and I
Okay.
think Big Bass in the English Choice was 5.2, and she caught that 6.5 pounder the next day with me out there. Like, see anybody, and she caught it on leech too, by the
There
way.
you go.
Nice.
That's a pretty
There's the
badass color.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's like you said though. I love watching other people catch fish and,
Yep.
and doing good and having fun, and everybody doing the right thing for the fishery and looking out for them. Some of them got to go home and eat. There's nothing wrong with that. I get mad at these guys that get mad at people keeping bass.
Well, you need
gotta
to.
take a few
We
out.
got to take a few
You
out.
got to take a
It's
few
just
out.
the way it
and
works.
we all love it, but I think when it comes down to it, that we all love fishing and the sport, and if we all stick together and comrades in it, it'll be a lot better situation.
Oh, for sure.
Agreed.
For sure. So,
Awesome.
well, cool, man. It's only been an hour already. So, we appreciate you making the drive today. I know the weather conditions weren't ideal, but we wanted to have you on for sure to get, talk about your amazing
I
product.
only have to stay an hour. I can get out of here now.
Hey, whatever, dude. You can
just giving you
you
shit.
can hang out the rest of the day if you want. If you can just
Oh.
watch the construction, maybe you can tell those boys out there to give them some tips on what they're doing correctly.
Did they start bringing the steel studs down yet?
Now-
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Not
they're
yet.
putting some
Are they-
up.
Oh, okay.
Well, they haven't started taking them down. When
Oh,
him and I
okay.
walked, when Dan and I walked out there, they're not. They just got back from lunch.
Oh, lunch. Gotcha.
So-
People in this food thing.
Yeah.
Man, I'm impressed with how fast it's coming down.
It's insane.
Gotta take breaks when you're doing construction.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of.
They're busting it for
oh,
sure.
well, they've been here since, 7 or whatever, so.
No, they got here. They
They get here very
5
early.
o'clock.
Oh, we're that early?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's awesome how fast it's coming down. They're
it's-
doing a
it's-
phenomenal
yep.
job.
So they're working on some of the finishing plywood at the top inside the range.
Gotcha.
And then last I heard there, that was hopefully something that was coming down today. All those, are they steel studs? Are they
think
aluminum?
aluminum.
Aluminum or
They're
steel?
aluminum.
Yeah,
If
whatever
they were
they are.
steel, they'd weigh
No,
more.
I think they're steel.
Really? That's real
Yeah.
super thin?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, I thought they
Yeah.
were aluminum.
No, aluminum would fold.
I'll trust the builder.
Yeah, for sure.
I am not a builder.
The tube and the builder.
I am a
professional.
fisherman.
No fun building in this winter. I tell you
No.
that. It's been terrible.
Every time I talk to him, where are you working? Like in Door County or something right now?
Yeah, we were up on Sand Bay, one of my most favorite spots out in front of where I'm working, and I'm caught in this dead winter with a 12-pitch roof, cookie cutter house. We're wading through snow. I mean, our pneumatics aren't working. Everything's freezing up. My guys don't want to work. I don't want to work. And then we got to drive through the stuff there and back.
Right.
And the highway department in between there, because you hit Brown County, Kewaunee County, and then Door County. Right in there in the middle, it's just garbage roads all the time. And then you got those smart people that think they can drive 75.
Oh, well, you said you watched a couple people spin out on the way here.
Yeah.
I mean, just be safe for sure. So
Be safe.
Be safe.
Be
We'll
safe.
wrap this one up, and then we'll be here. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week. We'll figure it out.
We're going to talk about outdoor stuff of some sort.
You think so?
I think so. Or do
really?
we talk about something else?
We're going to talk about like planting flowers or something like that.
Let's have a
Walleye run.
botany day.
A walleye
Talk
run.
about that walleye run,
Gotta-
man. That footage you guys got there got me. I call them bootsies because they fight like a boot when you bring them in. But
That's so
you know, they're so good eating.
Yeah.
Oh my
they're,
goodness,
they're delicious.
So
but that's
true.
the thing, is when I'm not going, because
Bootsies.
I like predatory fish, and I like fishing for pike because they get big, and I have yet to catch a big one because for some reason small fish are
Really?
attracted to me. Yeah,
I'll
it's
get you.
it's
We'll
awful.
get some this summer.
It's awful.
I got
There's a lot of
But, like-
promises being made across
But like
the
I always
table.
tell people, I'm like,
Write it down.
I take me as a new fisherman. I try to get all of these friends of mine to be like, come on out and just give it a try. Your license is $5. Just come out and give it a try. And then when I explained it, I'm like, okay, now you sea bass fishermen, right? And you see how that bite goes. I'm like, all right, well, we're fishing for walleye today. So imagine you're casting into a swimming pool and you're trying to catch a wet sock, because that's exactly how it feels. And sure enough, I got my buddy on one, and he just goes, that feels like a wet sock. I'm like, that's exactly what it feels like.
There you go.
But
Yep.
A wet sock.
it is.
Yep.
It just feels like a big old tube sock going through the water.
Maybe you haven't caught a big one then yet.
No, I caught a big one. My
See,
first walleye was 26 inches.
See, the thing is
First
typically
walleye.
with a walleye, they don't bite. Like, they're
Big
not an
head
aggressive
shakes.
biter.
Right.
They don't fight a lot on the way until they get to the boat. They're like a lot like a lake trout. Lake trout
Right.
fight the same way.
Mhm.
They don't fight until they get to the boat, and then you got the battle at the boat where the bass is like instant and the jumping and all that. But when
right.
you get them to the boat,
They're
it
done.
depends on how fast you get them to the boat, I guess.
And
I should
that's
say
the
that.
fun thing too, is when I first started, Nick and I go out all the time, and he'd always say like, "Oh, I know what kind of fish I got." You know what I mean? If we were just fishing some generic spot, we didn't know what we were getting. He'd be like, "Oh, yep, that's a walleye," and he pulls it in, it's a walleye. I go like, "Oh yeah, you don't know that." And now I'm sitting here like, "Oh yeah, that definitely is
Yep.
this kind of fish," because they all fight
We're
so
like,
differently.
but like we talked about in the beginning, it's like
They will fool you once in a while.
there's two fish that as soon as hook up and they're trying to even get them boat side or whatever, it's bluegill and smallmouth.
Oh, yeah.
They never stop. And especially in a river situation, when they dog you down current, against there's
Smallmouth are the best.
See, now you
They're
say that
awesome.
you say that they'll fool you, and I go, yeah, they definitely do, because remember that time I came into work and I said, man, I missed this big muskie, and then 2 days later I proved myself wrong. There was a buffalo carp. Yeah, so I was casting my lipless crank, just going across the bottom.
See?
It goes Zuri rattling vibe.
right.
And I thought it felt like something smacked it. Like it just
Ran
felt like
into the
crazy.
side.
And ran. And it just took off. In the spot that I go, there's a big bridge, about 100 yards away from where you fish. And this thing almost unspooled the whole roll for me and snaps off the leader. And I go, oh my God, that was insane. 2 days later, go back to the same spot in the river. We're going, and it's really thick with buffalo at that time of the year. Bringing it through. Sure enough, I feel like, oh yeah, I accidentally snagged something. Bring it up to get it released. Well, this thing was so big that I had to walk up the hill and keep it so that my friend could pull it out of the water, Mike. And jokingly, I thought he goes, hey man, it's got your lure. And I go, nah. Look at it, sure enough, right in the tail. There's my Yozuri rattling vibe. 2 days
are the
after,
odds of that?
2 days later in a
Right.
river, and I'm like, yep, that's going on the wall. I'm keeping that.
You
But
should have went and bought a
that did
lottery
fool me.
ticket.
Yeah.
For real. Like,
But,
seriously.
But no
Your
jokes.
odds are probably better.
No
of winning
jokes
the lottery.
aside, throwing a tube for those kind of fish too. They're with it being a bottom feeder, they'd eat it as well. So there really is. There's no limits on what you can catch on a tube style bait. So
Sheephead.
Oh my
They
God.
crush it.
You want to catch a sheephead in Lake Winnebago system, you
throw
tie
a tube.
You tie on a black tube.
Yep.
Black tube.
Yep.
Put a black tube on anywhere in Winnebago, and you will find the sheephead.
Lance and I were fishing right here in the Fox, and it was the same thing. We were throwing tubes, and I'm like, get a good throw, and I was like, wham, something smacks it. I'm like, set into it. I'm like, dude, this is a big
Then
smallie.
the line starts going like
Yeah,
this.
the next thing you know, it was like a 4-pounder or whatever sheephead. I'm like, gosh, isn't that is disappointing though. It's when you catch a real nice fish and all of a sudden it turns out to be a sheephead. It's like just a huge
See,
letdown.
I disagree. I actually go and target them here coming up on the Fox River because they're so fun to fight and
Oh,
they're so easy to catch.
They are.
You know, I mean, and
Have you ever done the live bait thing for them, like the crayfish and stuff?
Oh. So my
They
buddies
got
that
the
are
big. There's a sheephead tournament. And I think that's how they catch them.
That's it. So
they get these just garbage can lid sized
monsters.
monsters.
So my best buddies that are coming in today,
I'm still shocked he has friends.
They fish these tournaments, and they tell me every single year, you got to make time and fish these sheephead tournaments. Because they said those sheephead, what they do is they'll fish crayfish.
That's what I thought they do.
And they'll throw them out, and they say they'll crack the shell the first time. So they'll come through, and a lot of times they'll just hit it so hard they'll try to crack the shell on these crayfish.
Like, they pin it to the bottom?
Yeah, they'll hit it. They'll try it, and then they'll come back, and then they'll eat it. They said they've had like 3 or 4 rods get yanked out of the boat because either they hit it and eat it so fast, or they just, next thing you know, because you're kind of catfishing
Well, they're
them.
catching like 20 pounders,
Oh,
right?
huge.
Like monster ones.
The
yeah.
limits, the weigh-ins these guys bring are just ridiculous. 25, yeah, it's just insane. But
see, and I can't even, I remember vaguely as a kid catching 2 in the Nina Slough. I was with my grandfather. He brought me down there. We were just throwing, little worms or whatever. And I remember being a kid unable to pull the fish out of the water.
Grab my phone.
But like
I got
now.
a picture of a 32-pounder out of the Fox.
we'll post it. Share it to me. We'll post it after the show.
But I remember that. But now when I'm fishing we managed to get in a sheephead, I think the biggest one we've pulled is like this big, maybe a couple of pounds, and I can't even fathom
well,
that
if
at
they're
this point.
big,
but
it's at least 5.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun, though.
Skinny.
They do. They are pretty good fighting
He's
fish.
really transforming.
I know.
Like a pound or, I don't know.
When you're on a smallie
Like
right
12
on Bago,
inches.
you never know if you got a sheephead or a big smallmouth.
Right.
Yeah.
I was
Until the
upstate-
line starts doing this.
Yeah, then they dog it.
Well,
yeah.
I've had smallmouth do that on me
I
already,
know,
too.
but like I said,
Most
most
times.
of the time, this is not a good sign.
I know Lance caught a nice, if you want to call it a nice one. Lance caught one off of Mark's dock too one time. We were over
Sheephead?
there.
Yeah.
They're kind of, once they get so big, they're kind of gross looking in my opinion.
Get the rocks.
right.
So,
Warts.
all right, cool. Well, again, we don't know what we're going to talk about next week, but we'll figure it out. But we still have that contest going on, right?
We do. There is a giveaway going on. There's like 4 or 5 days left. It's the Omega Tackle giveaway. Lots of cool stuff. It's right here on outdoors.therealshot.com. Click the giveaway tab. It's right there. Sign up. Super easy.
Is it that long one, or is it just TRS Outdoors?
Well, we're on.
I'm glad
We're
you
on
said
either
that.
one.
'Cause I was like,
TRSoutdoors.com.
we talked about this. We had this discussion.
The only reason I said it too is because I looked at the screen and I just read the URL. I'm like,
When you
in my
said-
head, I'm like, oh, TRSoutdoors.com.
They're the same thing.
And part of the reason it's got to be TRS Outdoors because it's so much easier for me to comprehend.
Yep.
When you're talking outdoors / backslash bass dot and
That's simple.
semicolon and all this kind of stuff.
Either way,
TRSoutdoors.com.
there's a giveaway on TRSoutdoors.com
Yep.
/ giveaways.
And the video hits live here at 3 o'clock, the walleye one.
Yep.
So,
And
That's
it's
a really
pretty
good
good.
one.
It's fun. It's a good one.
yeah. So, well, cool. Again, Dan, thanks for making time for us
Not a problem.
today.
Thank
we
you guys. Appreciate it.
We're always going to support you, and we appreciate the support back. So, I mean, make sure if we don't have the Get Bit stuff in store right now, I mean, the order will be placed shortly. And
Well, I know Justin told me we've got about like 40 running feet of bass plastics that are in the warehouse because we gotta wait till the wall's out to get them on the floor.
He was chomping at the bit. He's excited for the
Well, it's
wall.
actually funny. I went in there by your jig heads, and I noticed that you were all out of every one that I had. And I said to your guy, I said, well, what the hell? Why aren't these in here? He goes, well, we just got a bunch of stuff in. They're probably in the back. I go, well, I kind of doubt it because I'm the one that sells it.
There you go.
know?
Yeah.
Well, and it's a good thing to happen. Every store that I've ever had and I continue to work with, they continue to sell out of my
Oh yeah,
product.
yeah.
no, that's good
And that's
stuff.
important to us. That's what we want to have happen. We work with Dick Smith down in Milwaukee. They're a great store. We work with up in Menominee, Wind River North, and then you guys here in TRS. We're not trying to really expand too much either
Right.
because we want to stick with you guys.
Yeah,
We turn a lot of people around this area down.
And the simple thing is about we're going to wrap this up, but I mean, you have such a phenomenal product. There's other people that are going to copy your product, but for the most part here at the Real Shot, when somebody asks for a great tube, we're going to recommend your tube first.
I appreciate that.
And then
Thank you.
they're going it's up to them at that point. I'm not going to choke somebody with it, even though there's days you want to, but we're going to say, this is the tube you're going to want to go with. These are the hooks and the jigs you're going to want to go with, and at that point, they'll realize once they start not having success with the other stuff that they need to get their hands on your stuff too. So, again, thanks everybody for tuning in today. It was a great show. Again, be safe on the roads out there, and we'll see everybody Tuesday at noon.